Hello and welcome to this radiotimes.com Doctor Who review. I'm Hugh.
I'm Sarah.
And this week we're going to be talking about The Ghost Monument, Jodie Whittaker's second ever episode of The Doctor and the most sci-fi take on wacky races I've seen in quite a while.
That's a good way to put it, actually.
I think so. It's less wacky and more deadly races.
Yeah. I will say, I don't think it didn't jump out at me as much this episode as the one before.
I know what you mean.
It's still alright.
It's still decent.
Shouldn't we probably explain what actually happened in it before we just start randomly talking about it?
Well, you know what we think right off the top, because that's how we do it here. But yeah, we should just start where it starts, like we did last week.
What we should start with is the spoiler warning, though.
Oh yeah, spoiler warning.
Yeah, we're going to talk about this episode, obviously.
Why are you watching this?
So,
if you've not seen it, you're mad. Just don't.
No, do.
Do, but like later.
As Hugh says, put it in another window, keep it playing, put it on mute, give us the views, and then come back and watch it again later.
It's exactly the way that
Double
it's
the
supposed to be
fun.
done. Double the fun.
Anyway,
yeah.
sorry, moving on.
This episode opens where the last one left off. Our heroes are stranded in space, suffocating. As Peter Capaldi told us in his last series, you get killed pretty quickly if you're hanging out in the vacuum of space, but luckily, they're not hanging out there too long, are they? No,
they're pretty much like you predicted they would be. I'm going to say he called this. I'll never hear the end of it when I say he called this. They're scooped up very quickly by Susan Lynch's character, whose name has escaped me.
Angstrom,
that's the one. And taken off in
and Sean Dooley's character.
Yes, and Sean Dooley's character. So rival spaceships.
See, I didn't get that. I thought there was one zooming in the trailer, so I thought, well, that's probably going to happen. But I didn't predict. They sort of take two each, and they think they're part of the game that they're playing. We don't quite learn what this game is until later on. But yeah, basically our heroes are sort of taken to Earth. Angstrom with Graham and Ryan pretty easily, and Epso, Sean Dooley, has a bit more...
Did you say taken to Earth? They're not taken to
taken
Earth,
to
they're taken to an alien planet.
The alien planet, sorry, that would be a twist. And then, Sean Dooley's ship obviously has some more issues.
Yeah, so Jodie Whittaker, I say Jodie's on this link. The 13th Doctor is on this kind of crashing ship, which has not coped too well with the fact that it's just scooped some people up. And Sean Dooley's sitting there at the pilot seat going, oh, it's fine, I'll just get us out of this somehow. And she's like, no, you're going to need to, eject the back half of your ship, mate. That's the only way we're going to get out of this alive.
He's very precious about this. He needs to get over it. I mean, it's a piece of junk. He needs to kind of move on. He doesn't need the ship anymore anyway, because it's the final stage of this big space race thing.
Space race, yeah.
Which they're a part of. And we kind of learn more about that after they've landed and they've all sort of joined up. I've got a sonic screwdriver here in case you're wondering. They run into Art Malik's character, Ilin, and he kind of explains the rules. These two need to get across the planet through this hostile environment. Everything's trying to kill you. Deadly planet. And Jodie and co are kind of just extra baggage.
Kind of along for the ride.
Yeah, but they realise that the target they're going for is the Tardis.
Yeah, so the Ghost Monument is established pretty early on.
The titular Ghost Monument
is actually the Tardis.
Yeah, we find it out pretty early on. So and then that's kind of the story. And like you say, I think it's possibly not quite as overall great as an episode as last week. It's a fun episode. I quite enjoyed it.
Solid adventure.
Looks gorgeous.
Looks beautiful, actually.
They filmed in South Africa. Mark Tondrai was directing. Really great shots. And I kind of like the contrast. The first episode was mainly at night. This episode has a bit of night, but mostly it's really bright. These sort of gorgeous sand dunes and stuff. And yeah, I quite enjoyed it, and I particularly liked the ending. I've actually been rewatching it, and I think I enjoy it more on the second watch.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think because the first 5 to 10 minutes or so is just the Doctor going, wait, what's going on? Who are you? Why are we here? What? And then when I watch it again, I know why they're there. And I know about the race and everything. And I kind of, I don't know, I got more out of it, I think. Maybe that's just me.
Cool. There was one moment in this episode, though, that I did find particularly hilarious. And it's right near the beginning when they're on the planet and the ship is coming crashing down behind them. And what did you say?
I said, the ship's zooming down here, right? It's like ships coming down, they're running away. And I'll just go over here.
Just run to the other side. Just run to the
side. It's ridiculous.
That concept does come up later on in the episode when they're trying to dodge some robots, which we'll get to in a minute when we start talking about the monsters. And the 13th Doctor is like, oh, don't run in a straight line.
Yeah, zigzag.
It's like Rickon from Game of Thrones.
It's true, yeah. She actually gives some good advice there. But yeah, we should talk about the monsters.
Yeah, we should. So
sorry, do you want to go?
No, I was going to say they're an interesting mix in this episode.
They are an interesting mix. So I'd say the main monsters who we sort of see the most of are these sort of sniper bots who have been left behind on this Earth and who Ryan at one point tries to sort of Call of Duty his way through. But yeah.
You called it Earth again.
What did I say?
You keep saying left behind on this Earth. It's not Earth, it's an alien planet.
I'm so sorry, I don't know what's wrong with me today. I'm just very Earth-centric. yeah, and basically they take on these roles. I mean, there's not really that much to them, I shouldn't say. Like,
No.
they're fine. Like, they're just sort of
They're
generic.
like sentinels. They're basically just activated by the planet if they need to be.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's kind of it.
I've not got that much to say about them, really.
No, I kind of, I wasn't really afraid of them. I was like, oh, it's just robots.
Yeah, it's just robots. Whereas the other ones, I feel like, were quite creepy.
So we get to a point in the episode where we discover why people are not allowed travel by night on this particular planet. And it's because these terrifying ribbons, yes, ribbons.
Deadly ribbons.
Deadly ribbons.
We've had, you don't blink at statues. We've had sleepy dust monsters. Now we've got the deadly ribbons. It was gonna happen eventually. At some point, your shoe will be a monster. Your hair. It comes to everything.
Deadly, gassy ribbons.
I don't think, were the ribbons gassy, or was it just the gas?
Oh, it was the gas on the planet, wasn't it?
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
I was about to say they were silent but deadly.
Oh, they were
no.
pretty silent.
You found out their name, didn't you?
Yeah, so they're called the Remnants, or Remnants, I'm not sure. And they're part of, I think they're a bioweapon design. We find out the reason this planet's, which isn't Earth, this planet's all dead is because loads of scientists were on there and they were designing these weapons for, some nasty guys. And yeah, this includes these things. And they sort of try and suffocate people, I think particularly the wounded. And they're pretty nasty. And they're voiced by an actor called Ian Gelder, who you may know as Sir Kevin Lannister on Game of Thrones, and also he's actually been in the Whoniverse before. He was in Torchwood Children of Earth as Mr. Decker, which was the episode that the mini-series that Peter Capaldi was in before he was on Doctor Who. So it all ties together. So I really like the Remnants. I thought they were really cool, really creepy. But my one complaint would be they only really show up in about the last 10, 15 minutes. And you sort of tease them a bit. You see the odd ribbon like in the sand or whatever, but they're not really a threat or present until right at the end. And they do this voice and they're very spooky. And I would have kind of loved them to be involved from the beginning, Yeah. I like them a lot and I wish there'd been more of them.
I just was a bit meh about them, to be perfectly honest.
Do you not like them?
No, they didn't bother me that much.
I thought they were quite creepy, kind of.
Yeah. But I just thought it was quite funny that they just blew them up in a load of...
Yeah, they used science. They taught us science.
Let's put it this way. I wasn't overwhelmed. I wasn't underwhelmed. I was whelmed.
You were whelmed, yeah. You were perfectly down the middle.
Yeah.
They teach us about science with how to get rid of them, though. Acetylene gas, You can take that to your science exam.
Gas in the flame. Don't try that at home, please.
Yeah, don't dig
or
in
in
the
school,
sand.
Or at university.
Or in outer space.
Just, if you're going to do those kinds of things, make sure you're in a controlled environment, preferably a scientific one.
Yeah.
And that you're actually being, mandated to do that. Let's just not do that in general.
Speaking of people doing unsuitable things in labs, wait, this will make sense. There's also another monster mentioned in this episode who's forcing people to do some scientific research for them.
Ah, yes. The Stenza.
They're back.
They're back.
Tim Shaw of, Toothface fame.
Of Woman Who Fell to Earth fame.
Yes, the last episode, the villain of the first episode, who we kind of assume was a been and gone monster of the week. It turns out that his race, the Stenza, are behind this planet's death. And I think it suggested that quite a lot of other planets as well.
So Susan Lynch's character mentions that her family are in hiding because they've been chased out by the Stenza. Sean Dooley says something similar, I think, as well.
Yeah, I think so. And basically, it looks like they're kind of a new big bad race.
Yeah, that they've been kind of trawling through the galaxy, completely unwatched, of policed. And this kind of sat weirdly with me because didn't Chris Chibnall say we'll have no overarching themes in this series?
He's a tricky
Didn't
one.
he say? Did he lie? Did he tell us fibs?
Well, maybe it won't be quite as much as other series,
No.
but maybe a bit. I mean, the thing I thought was interesting was that Tim Shaw never felt like really threatening. But then I thought about it, and he was sent to Earth, was Earth that time, without any weapons or any of his tech or without his soldiers. So we don't know how deadly the Stenza really are. Because a Dalek just, crawling around on the floor isn't much, is it?
No, not without his metal shell.
Yeah, so is it the equivalent? So presumably we're going to see more of a Stenza, unless it was a bizarre sort of callback.
One-off kind of thing.
Yeah.
I feel like it's the kind of thing where they'll mention it. So he comes in episode 1, he's mentioned in episode 2, then we won't see them for quite a few episodes.
And then they'll turn up towards the end.
And it'll just be that thing where it's like what J.K. Rowling does with the Harry Potter books. You drop plot points throughout. It's a little bit of foreshadowing, and then we'll get back to it. Not just J.K. Rowling, lots of people do that as well.
Speaking of foreshadowing, there's also another interesting arc that gets dropped in this series, in this episode rather.
The Whispering Ribbons.
The Whispering Ribbons, that's a great name. That's a
Whispering
great
Ribbons.
sort of like
That's
prog rock band.
That's what I'm calling the Remnants. The Whispering Ribbons bring about some sort of interesting mystery to Jodie Whittaker's Doctor. Surprise, surprise. Another thing we thought wasn't going to happen.
Yeah, the timeless child. It sort of suggests it's sort of taunting Jodie Whittaker's Doctor and saying, you know, oh, you don't know yourself, oh, you're scared of your newness. But even further back, and she's like, what are you talking about? And then it's like, you don't know, do you? And then basically mentions this thing called the Timeless Child, which it sort of suggests is sort of abandoned and an outcast and alone. And obviously your first thought might be, oh, that's talking about the Doctor, it's another name for the Doctor. But it could also be some other outcast from the Doctor's home planet, Gallifrey, another Time Lord. Could even be a member of the Doctor's family, right?
Yeah, I mean, part of me was wondering, could it be Susan? Like, we've often talked about whether or not they could bring back Susan.
Yeah, Susan Foreman, who's the Doctor's granddaughter from the very first run, and who was sort of hinted at a bit during Peter Capaldi's last series. Could it be? I mean, she's the only sort of young Time Lord I can think of who's like abandoned. But, you know, write in if you think you know any others. Leave a comment.
Could it be Bill? Like, I'm just throwing that out there. Kind of a random. Because
I mean, I think it's unlikely they're going to bring back too much from previous eras, whereas Susan's like from OG, you know, original era. But I mean, I bet, like with the Stenza thing, we're probably going to find out a lot more in the next.
Well, it's just that Chris Chibnall has talked a lot about this series having kind of a family theme. So he used to say it wouldn't be the Doctor's family. You mentioned that the Doctor talked about the family in episode 1.
That's a good point, yeah. I mean, it is interesting that this comes up right after the Doctor's talked about losing her family, and also, like you say, the TARDIS team's kind of a family. You know, but Graham and Ryan are actually were part of a family unit. I mean, still are, I suppose. So yeah, no, it's interesting. I mean, yeah, like I say, we'll probably find out more, and then in a week or two, we'll be laughing at ourselves for coming up with
these ridiculous theories. We do know, of course, after the Doctor finds out about the Timeless Child, she's not sticking around to get any more info from the Whispering Ribbons, as I'm now going to call them forever. They blow them all up with the cigar, they escape them, and they go off. And lo and behold, they find something special.
They do. They find the TARDIS. It's a new TARDIS. They've been a bit sort of coy about the TARDIS this year. They've said, you know, oh, will we have a new TARDIS? Who knows? I mean, obviously they always were.
It was always going to be a new TARDIS.
Although you say that, but you know, John Pertwee's Doctor didn't have it for a while. He had a car, the Whomobile.
But I mean, like, there was always going to be a new TARDIS.
Yeah, I know.
They blew it up in the end of the Christmas special.
And it's cool to finally see it. It's actually, I think it's the highlight of the episode for me. I don't know about you.
I enjoyed it, yeah.
Like, I mean, it's when it turns up, it's got that really cool music. There's like all that mist coming up through the floor. I think it's quite a cool atmospheric moment.
I do sound like the most unenthusiastic Doctor Who watcher ever this week. I do apologise. I do care. I think it was just that the episode had whelmed me so much that I just kind of got to the TARDIS and I was like, oh yeah, it's a TARDIS.
Yeah.
I was there kind of waiting for someone to say it's bigger on the inside, to be honest.
Nobody does.
Which nobody did, which was great in a way.
Yeah, Ryan Graham and Yaz go in. They don't say it. And I was saying it's a bit like how the new Spider-Man films never say with great power comes great responsibility anymore. It's been done. And, you know, it's bigger on the inside has been done. I mean, they still have that reaction.
Yeah, the allusion to it is there.
But yeah, it's a really cool new design, I think. It's a bit more dark and atmospheric than we've maybe seen for a while.
Was it just me, or did it have a button for a custard cream?
It did. That's a custard cream, if you're wondering, American fans. Matt Smith's Doctor favoured a jammy dodger. Famously, Tom Baker liked a Jodie baby. Turns out Jodie Whittaker's really into the custard creams. So.
I love a custard cream.
Yeah, I do too. Maybe we should have some of that.
Custard cream and a mug of tea.
Yeah. Well, you know, clearly you've got the same taste buds as an intergalactic alien.
Who knew?
But yeah, I mean, so the TARDIS is very cool. It's sort of golden looking, but if you do want to kind of know a bit more about it, you should maybe check out the next issue of Radio Times, which I think the cover's been revealed when you're watching this, and there might be some more detail.
Oh, really?
There might be. We'll see. You know.
Do you know something we don't know, Hugh?
I know one or two things, but
Shall we call him Dr. Hugh?
Oh, you could. But
we could not.
The BBC would sue.
Yeah.
So I think that's pretty much everything we want to say about the Ghost Monument.
Yeah, do you know what? It wasn't like an inconsequential episode. It was a great episode to lead up to getting the TARDIS, but I kind of felt like the two things were just very separate.
I know what you mean. To be honest, in a way, it almost felt for me like a sort of second pilot or a second part of the pilot.
Yeah.
Like they always have, quite often actually, I looked into this, and usually when you've got a new Doctor, the second episode they appear in, they go to the future. And the third episode they appear in, they go to the past. It's kind of like saying, you know, or a future or an alien world. And it's sort of like saying, you know, here's one side of it, here's the other side. And they've kind of, I feel like they ticked it off. It was quite sci-fi and like introduced the TARDIS, solidifies the bonds.
They had a lot of work to do in episode 1 to introduce us to everybody and to kind of get the concept into our head that this was the new Doctor, and now episode 2 was about showing the new Doctor's just like any other Doctor. And that was the thing, like, I didn't feel like I was watching a different series.
True,
you know?
And
like,
it definitely carries on. But yeah, I think it's fine for like, it's to not have been as exciting as the first one. Because
Yeah.
the first one was always going to be the most
The
exciting.
hype around it was going to be huge.
Yeah, it's the first time you see Jodie Whittaker's Doctor, you meet all these new characters, there's these really epic moments, and there were a lot of really epic moments in this. The crash was great, seeing the Tardis was great. But yeah, overall I'd say it wasn't quite as I didn't love it as much as I loved the first one.
And
I still liked it though.
At the end of the episode as well, we did get the hint that we are heading backwards in time, like you said, next week.
Yeah, we're heading to 1955 to meet Rosa Parks, who's played by Vinette Robinson, who you may know from Sherlock, and also...
The A Word.
Yes, and also...
Oh, and also Doctor Who. That's what he's queuing me up to say.
She was in Chris Chibnall's first ever Doctor Who episode 42, so it's kind of a nice little circularity to that, I think.
Yeah, it's come full circle, like you said.
Yeah. But we'll be chatting about that next week. And yeah, so we'll delve more into the world of Rosa Parks and what goes on there. I'm really excited to see it.
Yeah, it should be interesting. I think Mallory Blackman's involved in this.
That's right, yeah. Mallory Blackman's written it with Chris Chibnall, I believe, or she's written it and he's helped out a bit. And yeah, I think that's going to be awesome, right? That's going to be really cool.
Really, really good. But it doesn't matter what we think. We want to know what you think as well. So do let us know in the comments below what you thought of this episode. Did you enjoy it as much as you enjoyed the first? And how are you feeling about the new TARDIS? Is it exciting? Do you enjoy a custard cream? Let us know. We want to know. Join the club. Maybe we can start a custard cream club.
We should start a custard cream club.
Yeah.
That'd be amazing. And also, all the stuff in this episode that we've talked about in this video, pretty much, we've got articles about on radiotimes.com, lots of discussion and predictions.
We'll pop lots of them in the box below as well.
Yeah. So just have a look through there or look on the website. And yeah, join us again next week when we'll be chatting about Rosa. And yeah, thanks so much for watching. And it's goodbye from me.
And goodbye from me.